What is going on, everybody? This is DM Brad with the Spoiler Alert Network, and we are back again for the first time in a long time doing a top 5 discussion video. The series where we pick a topic and take our top 5 favorites from that topic and discuss. So I have with me Showtime and Dirt Sheet. We're bringing them back to do some videos here finally. So one of our favorite consoles from back in the day is the N64. So today we're going to be running through our top 5 favorite video games from the N64 console. And this was suggested by Conscious Effort Creatives, Tyler Hardwick. So if you're watching, Tyler, it's for you. So growing up, my experience with the N64 was a little bit more limited, I guess. I didn't get to play it very often. I would go over to a friend's house, and that was about the only time I got to play it. Or if my mom took me shopping and we went to the McDonald's across the street from the store, they had one of those N64 stations. You guys remember those?
Mm-hmm. I don't, actually.
You don't? That was a thing. Idea. That was a thing. So yep. that was about the extent of my experience with N64 until I got, older.
That was the thing when I was a kid. I don't know.
I'm legitimately baffled. Like,
McDonald's,
I feel like McDonald's sucks now.
They used to have a little thing where you could get up there and play N64. And then a couple years later, it turned into a GameCube. They used to do it with GameCube too.
Wow!
I remember playing Luigi's Mansion at one when I was a kid.
That is awesome.
Yep.
Bring that back.
So anyway, my number 5 pick is Gauntlet Legends.
Never heard of her.
It's not one of the more popular ones, I guess. So Gauntlet was a series that was originally a 4-player arcade game. So the N64 coming out was basically the first time we could experience a 4-player role-playing game on a home console. And this was basically my introduction to role-playing games in general. So over at my friend's house, we would play this game for hours on end, just going through all the different dungeons, fighting off hordes of enemies. So you could pick a class. There was the Barbarian, Warrior, Archer, Wizard, Valkyrie, which is arguably the best class they had. It had a pretty good combat system, and the level designs were unique, and there was a bunch of different enemy types. So basically, Gauntlet Legends was probably one of the first N64 games I played, and I have some very fond memories with it, so that's why it made my number 5. So now I'm going to pass it over to Showtime for his number 5.
My number 5 is a game called BioFreaks. This is a fighting game that existed on the N64, and it had so many different characters, but the only one that I really remember is the one that I played as. He was, I think his name was Zipperhead. He had like a chainsaw for an arm. He had like a zipper on the back of his head. He was crazy. He had a chainsaw for an arm, and this game had it was Mortal Kombat. Not before Mortal Kombat, but it was it was my Mortal Kombat before Mortal Kombat.
I was gonna say, because whenever game consoles were whenever the lord of game consoles spawned the first console, wasn't Mortal Kombat the first game that was made?
No. Mortal Kombat started on 92.
I was under the impression that there was the Big Bang and then life was created and then Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Shao Kahn was next.
Yeah.
No. BioFreaks was the violent, bloody fighting game that I played first before I knew Mortal Kombat existed.
Huh.
And this was 97, 98, whatever. I was 6 years old, and this game was just violent. And it had level traps and stuff where there were blades spinning out of the walls, and you could knock your enemies and your opponents into these whirring, spinning blades.
Huh.
Almost like stage fatalities in Mortal Kombat. But there were so many characters you could play as. At least it seemed like a lot when I was a kid. Looking back, there's probably only 5 or 10 you could play as. But it was still a very fun experience for me as a kid. And memorable enough to still be my number 5. What do you got?
Okay, so this is a monumental moment. This is the first top 5 list that I've done in over 2 years.
And
so I'm a little emotional, I might cry. But also, I wanted, I thought that the top 5 N64 game list was going to be very hard because I remember playing a lot of the Nintendo 64 as the first console that I played, and then I realized that I've only played 5 Nintendo 64 games. I just played the absolute shit out of them. So number 5 on my list is probably the only one that you guys have not heard of, and then you've definitely heard of the rest. But my number 5 is probably a game called Pilot Wing 64.
Yes.
You've heard of it?
I played the shit out of Pilot
You
Wing
turd
64.
ball?
I actually haven't played it, but I know of it.
Okay. So I remember
it was one game that released with the 64. Pilot Wings and Super Mario 64 released with the 64.
I didn't know this. Okay, fine. I thought I was going to be sneaky, but never mind. Fuck off.
Literally thousands of people have heard of this game.
Fuck off. But, you know,
It almost made my list.
in the grand scheme of things, thousands of people out of 7.1 billion people is still a small percentage, so I win.
How many fucking consoles do you think the N64 sold?
12, at least. Minimum.
Then 12 people fucking heard of it. Every person who played the N64.
Anyways,
Okay.
so the reason that Pilot Wings made number 5 for me is because, well, a multitude of reasons. One, the background music in that game was so soothing, except for the jetpack. I hated the jetpack music,
Like,
but it was.
oh no,
super-
that was a sound effect. That wasn't a.
Yeah, no, the music was like some really weird, uppity, but everything about this game was just really cool and like kind of monumental for me as a kid because like you said with your fighting game, how there's only 10 characters, but it felt like a lot. Pilot Wings only had like what 4 levels and then like 3 sub levels. So in like,
and only like so many aircrafts you could
yeah,
use.
so
on
in
each
only
one.
3 aircrafts. So like I felt like I played it a ton, but whenever I sat down and actually wanted to go through and get all the achievements and like beat the game, it
Don't say achievements like that was a thing on the N64.
no,
Don't
it was
do
like
that.
you got medals when you completed a level.
Yes,
though. So-
that's true.
Yeah, so
Don't
like
say
when
achievements.
you got all the medals, when I
Yes,
went through and got
okay.
all the medals, it took me like an hour and a half to play the entire game.
Yeah.
But I like the characters are really cool. It was such a wide range of pilots that you could choose because there was Goose, Hawk, Ibis. It's
One of them.
it's Kiwi, Lark, and Robin. I played
I
as
remember
Goose.
Lark.
Lark was like everybody main Lark
And I remember
because he
Goose.
was the lightest character.
I remember Lark and I remember Goose.
But I played as Goose because Goose was a tall, slender, goofy dude with like a really cool haircut, and I was small and not slender, so I was like, I'm Goose. Hated the jetpack, loved the hang glider. The like I would do the hang glider levels forever because like I loved the music and just coasting through. And do you remember the Mount Rushmore in the game that had Mario's face?
No.
There was a Mount Rushmore that had Mario's face engraved on it, and then I don't know who the rest of the characters were, but it was just
Probably a bunch of racist old white men.
yeah, probably. Well, but that's why Pilot Wings is my number 5.
All right, so now we're on to number 4. My number 4 is, you guys are gonna maybe hate me for this. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But like I said, I used to play the N64 at my buddy's house or at McDonald's. And McDonald's, they only had 4 games. They had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, F-Zero X, and Donkey Kong 64. So originally, Donkey Kong 64 was my number 4. So instead, I'm gonna switch that out for the superior 3D platforming collectathon, which released with the system, Super Mario 64.
Is that low on your list?
The only reason is because of how little I got to play it.
Okay, that's fair.
So I just don't have as much nostalgia for it, which is not to say that it's not still an excellent game, because I mean the level design is superb, the music amazing. I mean, first time we get to see Mario in 3D world, I mean it was revolutionary at the time. So, but that's the only reason I hate putting it that low, but I mean, just because I don't have the same nostalgia because I never really got to play it is the only reason it's so low. But it has to be on anybody's top 5 list. So.
At least it's on your list. If it wasn't on your list, I might quit again.
Yeah, that's why I switched it, because I was thinking, I'm like, something's not right here. So, Showtime, you're number 4.
So my number 4 is again in the same realm of fighting games and Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which was the collection of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 and 3 combined into one game on Nintendo 64. This was my introduction to Mortal Kombat as a series. Played this a ton as a kid, so much. Like, I just worked my way up the little, I was never very good, so I worked my way up the novice ladder over and over and over. And I would never be able to beat Motaro, or never even make it to Shao Kahn. The few times that I like figured out that there was like a trick to beating Motaro, I was still never able to beat Shao Kahn. So, but I played this game so much, and Cabal was my favorite character. And they had every Mortal Kombat character from the past, 3 games before that, was in it. So it had like Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Shang Tsung, Cabal, Kano, Sonya Blade, Jax, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, everybody.
I like how
Stryker.
you looked at me like,
Yeah, like you know.
like yeah, no, I definitely don't.
And it was for me, that was like the pinnacle of Mortal Kombat games. Like, it's my favorite memories of fighting games on the early days was just playing Mortal Kombat Trilogy over and over. And then like Mortal Kombat 4 came out and it kind of sucked a lot because it was like a 3D fighting game and you had to move and stuff. Ugh, it was just stupid. 2D fighting games are far superior. I'm sorry if there's any Tekken fans out there who don't exist, but whatever.
I was saying, there's Tekken fans. There's people who were subjected to playing Tekken. But
that is my number 4. Move on to Dirt Sheet.
so my number 4 is actually, Brad might be a little upset. It's this low on the list, but at least it's on the list, is Pokemon Stadium. So, I had a weird experience with Pokemon Stadium. I don't know if there was actually like technically like a campaign or like story gameplay, because all I ever did was form teams of like the final evolutions of Pokemon and just battle CPU, or I'd do 2-player with a controller plugged in because I was a lonely loser and I'd like battle myself.
I used to do that a lot with Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it was just super fun though, because it was like you would get on there and I felt like there was so many Pokemon you could choose from, and I just craft the strangest teams together and they just go absolutely apeshit.
Yeah, the original had all 151 or whatever.
Yeah, which felt like a ton at the time, and now it's like now there's like 27 generations and 1,000,001 Pokemon. But I like whenever I was younger, almost 200 Pokemon. It was a lot of Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, but that's my number 4. Brad, it's your turn.
All right, so that was a good pick. So now number 3. My number 3 is GoldenEye 007, the James Bond first-person shooter game based on the film of the same name, GoldenEye. So basically, back in the day, this was our Call of Duty, our Halo. It had a campaign based on the movie, and then where it stands out is its multiplayer mode, the split-screen multiplayer. So basically, that was my first experience with, first-person shooter deathmatch mode. And of course, it's very well known for having the greatest pause menu music in video game history ever. If you know, you know. But I think one of the most vivid memories I have is going on over to my friend's house. If I'm not mistaken, there's a level where at one point there's an enemy inside of a bathroom stall. So my buddy had the all guns cheat active, and this gives you a taser and a bunch of other crazy weapons. So I remember him bursting into the bathroom stall, tasing this dude in the balls, calling it a day. Looking back, my friend was a little bit sadistic. He was like a less evil version of Cartman from South Park. I think everybody should try GoldenEye maybe at least once in their life.
My favorite weapon in GoldenEye was the little laser watch.
yeah, I remember that.
Anyway, my number 3 is Banjo-Kazooie, and this...
Is that?
You never played Banjo-Kazooie?
I played
Oh my
5
God.
Nintendo 64 games.
That should be one of them.
This page has all my knowledge of the Nintendo 64.
Banjo-Kazooie was a platformer game similar to Super Mario 64 and Conker's Bad Fur Day and Donkey Kong 64, and like those other titles developed by Rareware. Rare made every good game on 64.
Yeah.
Mostly, except for Midway, because they made Mortal Kombat. But anyway, so Banjo-Kazooie was a very interesting take on the platformer, because you play as Banjo. He's a bear. Okay, so Banjo's a bear, and he's got Kazooie on his back in a backpack. And you run around collecting stuff. I don't remember anything from Banjo-Kazooie. I just remember having a fucking blast playing it. That's it. What's your number 3?
So my number 3 is Donkey Kong 64. So
It's the same game!
what? As
Banjo-Kazooie is a better version of Donkey Kong 64.
Well, I never played it, so But Donkey Kong 64, I just remember having a lot of fun on it. I don't think I ever beat it, honestly. Like, I don't think I progressed much in the game at all, honestly. The furthest I got, I remember getting the coconut shotgun, and then it was just like all hands on deck. I just spent all my time firing coconuts out of a log at things, and I just had the time of my life. So I would run around the beach and I'd smack those dumb looking beavers, and I just felt superior to the world. And it's a good thing that PETA didn't exist, because I was cruel. And then I'd swim from the island to that boat that the alligator boss was on. whatever his name was, Crocodile Dundee. I don't remember.
King K. Rool.
That's it.
Yep.
So, but
He's in Smash Bros. Didn't we play Smash Bros?
Yeah.
I know this.
but I would swim to that boat, and then I would beat up some alligators, and then I'd get overwhelmed, and I'd retreat back to the beach and beat up some beavers because it made me feel superior. But it was a super fun time. And I also had I remember the yellow cartridge was just super cool because it was just very distinctive. So if I ever wanted to play Donkey Kong 64, I'd just look for the cartridge that looked like mustard.
Special color games were the best on N64.
They were.
All right, so we are down to number 2 now. My number 2 favorite N64 game was Pokemon Stadium 2. Originally, I was going to put the original Stadium because I played it more technically, but Pokemon Stadium 2 is basically just a copy of Stadium 1 with more, like a larger roster. You got the Gen 2 Pokemon in there, so you got like 250 something to choose from. And they improved some of the battle animations and the move sets, so it's basically just a better version with more options, more game modes. So at the time I played these games, and 2 especially, I was pretty much obsessed with the cheesy, goofy Pokemon anime that was out at the time. And at that point I had only ever played yellow version, gold and silver on the Game Boy. So instead of 2D sprites on a little screen, you get a battle with 3D models of your favorite Pokemon. So at the time I was just mesmerized with the whole experience. So just the hours I put into this game and the fond memories I have with it is probably why it's this high on my list. So, Showtime, you're number 2?
My number 2 is WWF No Mercy.
Yeah, we played that.
Yeah, Mean Dirt Cheat played that on Retro Vault about, 2 years ago?
Yep, so technically I lied. I've played 6 games on Nintendo 64.
And WWF No Mercy it's still considered to be one of the best wrestling games of all time. I don't necessarily think it is, but a lot of people do. And it's still enjoyable to go back and play, but I don't think it's one of the best. So this game it was almost an exact copy of WrestleMania 2000, which released the year before, also on the N64, but with updated rosters, updated textures, updated everything, updated movesets. It was just better in every way from WrestleMania 2000. And it was just the game to play if you were a wrestling fan. For kids that I knew as a wrestling fan and as wrestling fans, that's just the game that we played. Like, just for hours and hours and hours, we would just play No Mercy, just playing against each other, same wrestlers over and over, just having matches. And I remember me and my cousin, we used to play tag team Iron Man matches for an hour and just get hundreds of pins on this other tag team. And it was always so much fun. Like, you just don't have moments and memories like that on games today. I don't know why. I don't know what changed, but it was just a simpler time with a simple control scheme, and it's all complicated and shitty now. But that was my number 2. What do you got?
You know, it's funny that you say, I fixated on the fact that you said that you feel like a lot of people think it's one of the best games ever, but it's good but not the best for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny how having memories in a group aspect with a video game, like shared memories, will pole vault the game up your list, because it's not a game that I would think would be number 2 on your list, but I can understand why it would be with memories of the crowd that played it. My number 2 is this was a hard one, picking between 2 and 1 for me. It was one of those moments where I flipped a coin and pretty much knew when it was in the air. My number 2 is Zelda Ocarina of Time, and there's miles of reasons, but I feel like Zelda Ocarina of Time, paired with Super Mario 64, but more so Zelda really kind of revolutionized open world RPG games. That it seems so small looking back on it now, with that little area of the map in Hyrule where you could just run around and it would shift from day to night, and there would be zombies and different enemies at night and whatnot. It seemed so massive at the time, but it really kind of paved the way for massive open world RPG games that we have now, Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout, stuff like that. But also the fact that the inventory management, how you had so many different weapons and gadgets and things that Link would use. it was such a tremendous game. The 3D was awesome. The legendary boss battle with Ganon, where it's like, you're gonna grind through this game and then play ping pong with the main villain at the end of the game, was super cool. The story was captivating. Like, everything about Zelda Ocarina of Time just made me excited. It was so cool. And I put so much time into this game, and then whenever I got big into emulators, every time I had an emulator, the first game I would download would be Ocarina of Time, and I'd just play it no matter where I went. And then Breath of the Wild got released, and then it, tortured me because it was actually hard and I couldn't do it. But so that's my number 2. So Brad, drum roll for number 1.
So my number 1, God, we're probably gonna lose subscribers, and I'm probably gonna have to fire myself after this one.
What is it?
But okay, so most people, when you ask them what their favorite N64 game is of all time,
God of War.
That's not even N64. They will either say Super Mario 64 or Ocarina of Time. Mine is not. Mine is actually Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. So Majora's Mask released, I believe, a year after Ocarina of Time, and it was the game that almost never happened just due to development reasons. And a lot of people consider it the weird cousin in the Zelda franchise because it is very different. It's basically has the same mechanics and gameplay as the previous Ocarina of Time, but it's in a darker setting. You're in a totally new setting. You're not in Hyrule anymore.
You're not in Kansas anymore. Sorry.
So the themes of the game are more dark, sinister, emotional, like impactful. But the reason I put it above Ocarina of Time is just the themes, and because it's different. I mean, it's just something you wouldn't normally see in a Zelda game, just because I don't like, agreeing with the masses, I guess, is why I picked it.
So, you little rebel.
Yeah.
Fucking hipster.
So, was Ocarina of Time a better game? Probably. Was it more popular? Did it sell more copies? Absolutely. I like to be a little bit different, I guess, and it's a very different game for a Zelda game, so I really enjoyed it. Plus, it being associated with the Ben Drowned creepypasta, which we did a video on a while back, so that's yeah, he did that. So that's always great. But so if all y'all hate me now, cool, but go ahead with your number 1, Showtime.
Number 1 is Super Mario 64. There's no game better that's ever been made than Super Mario 64. It's just it's the perfect game, perfect level design, like Brad was saying earlier. He said it's good level design. It's the fucking best.
I said
so
superb.
It's the best level design of any game ever. So you got what, 15 levels, right? 15 levels and 15 hidden stars, and each level has what, 7 stars? For a total of 120 stars throughout the game. And just the pacing of the game, the difficulty level just gradually increases as you learn how to play the game. It's not a sharp curve. You don't just get thrown to the wolves. You just learn as you go from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. It just slowly gets harder. It's a simple game that a fucking 5-year-old can pick up, and it's a game that a 30-year-old can play and have the time of his life. I can play it right now. I can go through and play it right now and have so much fun. I have played through Super Mario 64 11 times, getting all 120 stars. I played through the whole game 11 times, and every time I've not had a problem with any of it. I've enjoyed every moment of playing it. It's not like I'm like, oh, I gotta do this again. It's like, no, I'm enjoying the fucking game. It's a great game to enjoy at any stage of your life, and I don't know if there's any other game that even compares to how accessible it is to anybody in the world. And it's just it's the perfect game. What do you think?
I agree entirely, like with the exception that it's the best game ever, but it is easily, I'd be as bold to say top 3, for me personally, and for 95% of people out there who have ever picked up an N64 controller, they more than likely have fond memories of Super Mario 64. I remember just playing it for hours and hours and hours. It was just tremendous, and the learning curve thing is spot on, because I remember especially with older games, that you would be having fun one moment and then all of a sudden, oh, the game gets real. What with Super Mario 64, the fact that you could go back and also replay levels, like stars weren't inaccessible once you got the golden star. It'd just be blue, and you could go and you could play through the level again. You could like improve your skills in Super Mario 64. The 7th star in every level for getting 100 coins was super cool. The consistency of 8 red coins in every level, like there was so much to it that was super cool. Fighting Bowser and Bowser getting progressively more difficult and unlocking new abilities from everything from his stage to stuff that he could do in general was super fun. Like it was an incredible game, and I absolutely loved it.
And Brad f***ing hated it, so he put it at number 4 on his list.
Yeah, because he's a f***ing tit. I'm not even mad at you for the Majora's Mask thing. I'm just mad that Super Mario 64 is not number 1 because we had a chance here. You could have take one for the team. Lie.
I've never played Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time. Never enough to even list them. I played Ocarina of Time when I was a kid, but not enough to.
That's basically what I was gonna say. Is I'm the same with Super Mario 64. Is it a better game than anything I listed? Probably so.
I mean, yes, it is.
Yes, yeah.
That's not your fault.
I'd say absolutely. It's just it comes down to what I have the fondest memories of is what I based my list on, basically. So
that's fair.
That's about it.
It's okay to be wrong.
It's understandable why it's so low on your list. I'm just glad it made it on your list.
Oh yeah, it's anybody's top 5 should have it, like I said. So, but that's our list of top 5 favorite N64 games. Do we have any other final thoughts other than that, or
you got any honorable mentions, Brad?
I do not. I almost did the way I had to switch my list around a couple times, but
There are some games that I didn't mention that really almost made my list, but I had to mention BioFreaks and Mortal Kombat. But
right.
There's a couple games that I left out that I played the shit out of when I was a kid. But no honorable mentions for me.
Nope, we pretty much exhausted my knowledge of the N64 library. So.
Oh, you played No Mercy once for an hour.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for today. If you guys have any suggestions on what type of top 5 lists you want to see in the future, feel free to comment that below. And if you want to see any more top 5 lists, subscribe and be sure to like this video as well. So until you see us next time for another top 5 discussion or any other video on the Spoiler Alert Network, remember to always stay tuned and stay dedicated. So basically we spent hours, me and my friend, playing with each other. Oh my god, that's
playing with each other? We spent hours playing with each other. Man, the 90s were f***ing wild.
The 90s were f***ing wild, man.
Click the Yep.
He's trying to call a cat over here.
Click the subscribe.
Suck my scribe.
Smash that
I didn't
like
say
button.
click.
Oh.
Smash that follow button.
Because I couldn't say it for some reason. So be sure you. This hasn't happened in a long time. So until you see us next time for another top 5 or any other video series on the Spoiler Alert. Damn it.
Follow along.